Check. Can anyone hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank
Hi.
you. Awesome. You should be able to see my screen now. Okay, so my plan for this, I'll turn on my video um, with this funny background. But my plan for today is go over what the class expectations are, um, talk about the assignments, the first batch of assignments, and do a demonstration on how to accomplish everything. Um, so I will introduce myself. It's 7:30 already. So if you're watching this after the fact, hello. And to everyone that's currently in the meeting, hello to you all. My name is Robert Huerta. It's my pleasure to work with you all. This is an online class. You don't have to be part of these meetings, but uh, showing up and participating or asking questions is useful. So I encourage everyone that watches this video to try to stop by if you can. I know it's a random time in the week, but if you have any questions at all, write them in the chat, send me an email, um, unmute yourself. I'm happy to work with you all individually as well. If you want to set up a time to go over something, at part of this class that um, I think it could become a very useful or a tool that could be useful in getting through this class, being successful and getting something out of it substantial would be to connect with other students that are also tackling the same thing. So the class is digital media. We're working with computers. Just a quick show of hands or participation in the chat. Um, and this is something that I'm going to make a poll on. So it'll be a discussion, an initial discussion. But who in here is working on a PC? Professor, can the screen become bigger? I'm not sure what screen you're talking about. Is it you? You should all be seeing my desktop. It's the initial page. But all right. PC, but have a Mac too. Okay, cool. Anybody else? PC. Who's working on a PC? Who's working on a Mac? Or are there
I'm
any
working on a
other
Mac.
Mac? Who is that?
Yeah,
Malachi?
Mac. Yes.
Okay, cool. What else? Mac, Juliet, Mac. Okay. Jang, I don't know if she can participate. Working on PC. getting into a tablet. Okay, interesting. Tablet is limited in its ability to run certain programs, so just keep that in mind. PC, laptop. I'm Hector. Awesome, welcome, Hector. Okay, so the operating system that you're using, right? Whether it's a PC or a Mac, uh, they can accomplish the same things. I won't get too lost in trying to argue for one thing or another, but I'll be doing everything on a Mac. I have the latest version, whatever the latest update was, Tahoe 26.2 or something like that. But uh, I have a older MacBook Pro, and I'll pull up my specs right now. And this is important. So, right, click the little Apple. Because when we download programs, so today there's going to be a couple tasks that everyone that's currently in the meeting should try and accomplish. And then everyone after the fact, you'll see it in the assignment description. Okay, but one of them is downloading a list of programs. So I'm going to list them out right now, and these will be um, in the assignment in the module for your portfolio. So everything that you do in this class is geared toward the development of a site hosted on GitHub for free using pages, free depending on all the costs that you take on just working with digital media. Anyways, so this is something that everyone should try and get into right away. Here are the programs that you need. Okay. Atom, creative, and this I mentioned in the email. I'm not even getting into the class structure right now, but I'm mentioning this because everything that we do, we're going to share. We're going to build a site and share it, share the work, share the process as well. So some documentation. Um, so we'll all be handling code in a couple separate files using Atom, and we'll go into that. Atom is a text editor, and we'll be pushing and committing changes through GitHub Desktop. So you need GitHub Desktop, and you need a GitHub account. So if you don't have a GitHub account, I'm literally going to walk through that. Amy, it's not AI. There's another program called Visual Studio, Microsoft Visual Studio. I don't use it. I use Atom. I like Atom, but you could use any text editor that has some built-in AI. You'll see AI pop up in photo when we go over Photoshop, Illustrator, and InDesign. But no, the AI agent that I'm going to encourage you to get access to is anti-gravity. So you'll be consulting anti-gravity when it comes to the development of your GitHub page. If you've never worked with code in any form, then anti-gravity will be your best friend. Keep in mind that you have a limit on usage. So I would consult something like Gemini. Uh, and if you have any specific issues, go through anti-gravity. But start with anti-gravity when it comes big picture. or complex problems like making a cursor a cat or making it responsive. I say that because there's a couple examples I'm going to go over today that have some stuff like that. Okay. But these are the programs, so I'll go through them one by one, and if I'm missing any, I'll modify that. Okay. And I'll kind of specify here what uh, maybe even audition. So the day is 2D. I'll open up all the programs. We'll do a super quick run through. And everything here, you should be trying to learn on your own as well. I can't tell you how many social media reels I have saved, YouTube videos I have saved for questions that I've had. Instead of signing up for a course, right, I'll just kind of look it up, whether it's documentation in a forum or on the site itself or in the program you'll see today. So whether you're on a PC or a Mac, we will be today kind of thinking about what the what your ultimate portfolio, what your portfolio is ultimately going to be running on, and it's locally, so it's on your computer. Okay, so a tablet might actually give you some problems when it comes to developing your site. Okay, so GitHub desktop, anti-gravity. Yeah. Okay, this is mandatory. Try to do this today. All right, so uh, let me go over the syllabus real quick. You got the email, you're enrolled in the class. My name is Robert. Send me an email if you have any questions or if you need any feedback on your work. This is 10C Digital Media, and we don't meet officially. It's an online class, so we're not in person. But I'm hosting these weekly meetings as a way of facilitating the demos and a lot of the overview or review of the assignments. Okay, so I'll do them every Monday, and yeah, we'll be covering the initial batch of assignments today and your portfolio, which is what you're ultimately submitting at the end of the semester. That will be worth a significant amounts of points, which means it's a large work and you have 6 weeks to complete it. Okay, so I would rather, if you're interested in the language, read the syllabus. Okay, some main things that I want to highlight are these categories right here. Our class is broken up into 2D, 3D, 4D. 2D, image editing, and the initial mapping out of your portfolio, your GitHub page. 3D will be working with Blender. Okay. And 4D is video. And I have some examples. Everything needs to be on your page. So you're all making a page from scratch. And today, we'll walk through like what that means and how it exists in your computer and what you'll need in order to access it, modify it, make it grow, and some different approaches um, to working with an agent for support and also to solve some complex problems. All right. Um, this all might sound vague. I'd like to just show you a couple examples. So, a quick question for those of you that are watching this live. Can you see this screen that says final portfolio submission? I just need confirmation that we're all looking at the same screen.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. All right, so I'm showing you some examples from the most recent semester. Now, this was an in-person class at the main SMC campus. In the art department, our current building, we have a media lab. So there's a bunch of Macs and everyone's operating on a Mac. And your site is pretty much built on that machine that you're working on. Okay. Let's see this one. I wonder how this came out. Awesome. Okay, so she made this in uh, a combination of Atom, and then I guess she's like just basically opened the files or made the files and then started working in Visual Studio. So I was working with her. And here, these are some examples of her work. Okay. Um, there's that two-dimensional image that she made these from this kind of fake poster from a number of things that she scanned and kind of pieced together in Photoshop. And then we printed it out large in the Media Lab. We have a large format printer there. And then this model, she was able to generate based off of a clay sculpture. Here it is. So one of the key requirements for this course has to do with making things functional. So you have a 3D model that you're making based off of an existing object. And you have to get that model onto your page. Okay. Everything in this class, my goal in these reviews is to do a kind of line by line or step by step demonstration so that you're not lost on this. And I'll also give you some lines of code to consider. But I do kind of try to develop good habits when it comes to approaching some of this work. So, if I make a recommendation on how you should organize your files, I would follow that. Okay. Just in case, so you don't overcomplicate things for yourself. Because sometimes it's better when you're working along a system and you're following through that. Okay, but so she made that in her video piece. So 2D, 3D, and then her video. One clean, very simple example. Here's another one. This is Pam. And yeah, there's a lot going on in this. Just landing, right? Also, notice how it's a single page. Okay, so it's a single index.html file. All right. And she kind of like added a lot of stuff here just to as a demonstration of ability or interest. Okay, but like the cursor, the moving text, all those things are problems that you can solve and include in the way that you present your work. Maybe just a couple more here before I kind of go into the actual programs. All right. Let's see. Oh, yeah, this one. Okay, so you have that glitch, right? The hovering, the animated cursor, right? one of the assignments that she was working on. So this is her work in 3D space. This is rendered, a still image rendered in Blender. So if you're interested in 3D modeling, Blender's an amazing program to teach yourself and work in for various reasons, and we'll go over them eventually. This is also a 3D model, or this is a scene. So these are all different 3D models that she made an image from. This is another one that she built. I think the Labubu comes up. Yeah, we can play with it. Right. So you have 6 weeks to try and get something finished that meets all of these different criteria as far as 2D, 3D, and a video work. The video work, there's a couple different solutions to that, but it still needs to be accessible on this site. Here's another one. So he had a number of his own works that he wanted to incorporate there. And the diagrams. Yeah, I'll get into the difference between Mac and PC in a moment here when it comes to certain steps that you take. Okay, but uh, with something like terminal or command prompt. Here we go. So this way of presenting your work is going to be the standard for your 3 projects in this class. You have 3 projects, 2D, 3D, 4D, and all of them are hosted or accessible on your page, which is what I'm referring to as your portfolio. Okay. Um, oh, I understand these diagrams. No, the lab is not open during summer school. There's no lab hours. No, you'd have to register for a physical or an in-person class. It's a good question. Um, but your assignments, right? For example, this first project, okay, the way that you're submitting it initially is as a set of slides, okay? No more than 20. It doesn't have to be anything elaborate, but everything you're presenting to me and in discussions with your peers will be as a PDF file. There's various approaches to it. I highly recommend using the Google Drive account that's associated with your um, student email. Okay, so log into Google Drive as a student, and you'll be able to access your Drive uh, student email account. Okay, all right. I'll post the link to some of these portfolios as well, because they're GitHub pages. Um, everyone in here will be able to look it up on your phone. Some of these are optimized for mobile, others are not. Okay, so any immediate questions from anyone that's currently in the meeting?
Professor, I think there are some of us that are worried that we wouldn't be able to accomplish the task on PC, but I think you can do a lot of this on PC even if you don't have a Mac. Is that correct?
Yes, yes, that is correct. You can do everything on PC. Uh, that I'm asking you to do. So the only restriction would be mobile or tablet. So if you're working, if you don't have access to a PC or a Mac, or any kind of like desktop situation, or even perhaps a laptop. I'm working off of a laptop. I work exclusively on a laptop, and I'm able to do this. But I do have a slightly not newer, but more robust laptop. Um, any other questions? So yes, you're totally fine on a PC.
Professor, this is Hector.
Yep.
Um, Please forgive me for this question, but what is a PC?
Personal computer.
Oh, thank you. Thanks. Got it.
Anybody else? Okay. So you can type other questions into the chat. I'm opening up a couple programs and I'll immediately go over to Google so you can see the process of downloading them. Some of these, it's not so straightforward. All right. So Atom, go. GitHub desktop. And so these three programs, I would like you to try and download ASAP as soon as possible.
I already downloaded GitHub. Now I'm downloading Atom, and I download the Attrogravity, Google Attrogravity. Yes.
Awesome. So I would recommend thinking about what Google account, if you have your own and you want to use your own,
I have
go
my own
for it.
Google account.
Yeah. This goes for everyone too. So either be consistent and use just your student Gmail account, or use your own personal account. Oh, I see. All right. Might be trying to do too much. 1 second. All right, I'll open these programs up and then I'll talk about the Adobe Suite. All right, so as those are opening up, let me get into downloading these. So, Atom. What you want to download is Atom Editor. That's the text editor. You want to download the latest version. Okay. And You want to choose whatever system or download package is right for you. I'm logging into anti-gravity as well. All right, so I am running a Mac. I would choose a Mac. There's the Windows option. You download the zip and you run it, the installation file or file, and that'll get it going. Okay, so when you first open it, this will be what you see. I would close all the files that you don't need. And that's your text editor. Right, I'm looking for my stickies application. There we go. I'm going to keep a track of stuff for y'all here. Okay. So one of the main issues you're going to have immediately when you start getting into this is related to your user account. So you need to make one if you don't have one already. All right. So I have one. I can go ahead and log in. Now it does use a authenticator, a two-factor authenticator. Okay, so it's pretty. Oh, do you need the link for Adam? Okay, you got it. Uh, you need to make a GitHub account immediately because this is the first step in this entire process. Okay, so GitHub Desktop is its own program. It's the desktop version of GitHub, or it allows you to make changes to your GitHub page and upload information or code, changes to code that's hosted on GitHub. Okay. So I have a profile. You can search me up. Most of my repositories are public. Okay. So you can actually look at my code for some of the examples that I'll be making. Actually, I'll share my GitHub link. It's up here in the description. GitHub Wortamon. Okay. So I have 4 repositories here. All right. Now I'm in GitHub Desktop. Okay. So once you've made your GitHub profile, you can log into GitHub Desktop and begin the process of creating your repository. Okay. You want to keep things super simple for yourself. I'm using all lowercase, no spaces, super simple. My last name, portfolio. For the purposes of this, I don't need a description, but I'm gonna stop everything that I'm doing and I want to talk about this for a second. Okay, so local path. What does that mean? All right, so on a Mac, we have terminal. On a PC, you have a couple different options. You have the command prompt, and you also have something like PowerShell. PowerShell, I think it's for higher level stuff, where command prompt, you can use it for more general tasks. But this program allows you to talk to your computer or operate the computer without using your cursor and the visual component to the computer. Okay. Right. We're looking at a screen, and on that screen, we have various icons and various windows. All those applications populate a certain amount of screen, and we can also dictate, where it's placed on the screen. But the main difference is terminal, command prompt, those two programs on a PC and a Mac. You're using text to control, interact with your system. Okay. All right, so I just want to quickly talk about this because this is also an initial um, kind of task that you need to take care of and have an example of, or not an example of something developed on your drive, but it's going to be local as well. Okay, so the file structure is going to be as follows. It's going to be 10C, project 1, project 2, project 3, and portfolio. Okay. In each of these, you have your proposal, your references, your drafts, and the final. Okay. So that same structure right there goes in each of these except for the portfolio piece. The portfolio is just going to be your code. Okay. And that is in parentheses or in, this is going to be, it could be a number of files. Okay. Now, we're looking at this box, right? This window, RBH MacBook Pro desktop. That's where we're at. We're on our desktop. Okay. So I want to see exactly where I am in my desktop. Okay. Or I'm using, this is the name of the system. Sorry. The name of the system and the user. Okay. This is what I'm using. I'm on. Okay. So this command ls, it shows me everything that's in my current directory. Okay. So the directory is the folder, the position, and these are all folders or files inside of it. So a directory, subdirectory, it's kind of a branch. Okay. So ls shows me everything here, right? And I want to go to my desktop. Okay. So I'm going to change directory to desktop. I click tab there. It completes the word. And I click enter. If I hit ls again, now I can see that I'm on my desktop. So I'm looking at all the files that are on my desktop. Okay. So this is what I want everyone to do. I want you to try, if you're with me here live, try to do this at the same time. Go into open up command prompt or open up terminal and try to create a folder on your desktop. Okay. If you are on a PC, look up command prompt shortcuts, file management. Okay. And you'll be able to find some commands there that are similar to this. All right. So I'm currently on my desktop in the desktop directory. Okay. And those are all the files that are there. And now I want to make a directory. Okay, so I want to make a folder titled 10C. Okay, so here is the structure. All right, only make 4 folders. The rest of them are going to be different files. Okay, if you don't kind of can't grasp this, or are struggling, or just you kind of are hit a roadblock, I promise you that you can start over and get to this point. All right. We're doing something super simple. Instead of clicking, right, and hitting that, we're talking to our computer here. Now, the reason we're doing this is because I want you to be really clear on how GitHub works and essentially how you're building your page and where to find all the files that you'll be generating throughout the course, okay, and how to manage them. All right, so I made a directory 10C. All right, so if I come back to my list command, I can see that I now have a folder there. Okay, so I made a folder on my desktop using terminal. Hooray. Okay, now I want to go inside that folder. So I changed directory to 10C. Okay, I'm in here. There's nothing there. All right, now what I'm about to do is very specific to terminal and working on a Mac here. So the equivalent is going to be generating a new file in command prompt. Okay, so if you're on a PC, it's generate a new file using command prompt. Okay, so the name of my file is going to be index.html. In order to generate that, we use the command touch. So touch index.html, and look at that. Okay. Now let's say I don't want that file and I want to delete it. If I run this command, that delete is permanent and I can't get that file back. Okay, so ls, I'm there, I'm in this directory. I want to remove index.html. No longer there. Permanently deleted. It won't be in my trash can. Okay, so I want to make a folder. I'm currently in a folder that I just made and I want to make another one. Okay, project 1. So the command is make dir and project 1. Now notice what happened, right? There's a weird output. Okay, I'll show you what that looks like. So because I clicked space and I didn't use the specific text or syntax, that's what it's called, okay, I'm getting a weird outcome. So now I need to delete that. Okay. It's gone. All right. So main reason for even going through this is thinking about what those pathways are that manage the flow of your code, of your information stored on your local system, and how it travels into the GitHub servers. Okay. Because we're assigning a path to it. Okay. So users RBH. If I come over here, right, I'm in my user account, RBH, right here. All right. Inside of my RBH account, I have a documents directory. How do I get there? Well, I'm going all the way back, as far back as I can in my file structure that manages my computer. Okay, and I can see that here I am in users. Okay, so change directory users. What do I have here? RBH. What do I have here? Documents, right? Documents is right here. So I can go there. And what do I have here? I have quite a few different things, but I want to go to the folder titled GitHub, okay, which is right here. All right, so change directory, GitHub. All right, those are the different codes that I currently have stored in that folder. And that's where I'm developing my new repository. The repository is a folder inside of that GitHub folder, inside of your documents, inside, right? So it's one of the many subdirectories here. Okay. So without further ado, I have a repository now. Okay. And the first thing you want to do is publish repository. But now check this out. What does it say there? Open in Atom. Okay. One of my favorite qualities of the Atom program is that there's like a ready-made option to work with Atom. And Atom is super simple. Okay. Not fancy, but it gets the job done, and it's a pretty efficient workflow if you're making changes to your code and pushing them directly to GitHub for your page. Okay. All right. So, any questions here? Probably a lot of questions, but I want everyone to try and get these programs downloaded and get this repository made as soon as possible. Coding your site is basically how you display the rest of your work. We'll go over working in the programs. So everything is on a computer, and the first 2 weeks are 2D, the second 2 weeks are 3D, and the last 2 weeks are 4D. So it's a number of demonstrations per week, or run-throughs per week. But the site is the final, basically your final. So you're turning in all your work on a site. Yeah. So if you're not excited about the coding part of this, don't worry. That's where AI is extremely useful, and you will personally witness that once you put it to work. Anti-gravity is an agent, okay? So once you're able to log in and you're at this moment here, you can start to big picture ask it to work on a project like developing a certain type of site and give you a step-by-step rundown of how to implement that. And if you allow it to, it'll actually make those changes for you, okay? And I'll give you a rundown on that next week. But just on this site specifically, on this moment specifically, I get to publish, okay? And there it goes. So once I publish, okay, I can open it in Atom. So here I am. Malachi, did you have something?
No, I don't.
So once I'm in Atom, in my portfolio, check this out. Look at that moment up there, okay? So if I just currently listed this, and now, again, for those of you that are like, why am I in command prompt? I'm asking you to try it out and build the entire directory like that. Okay, and I'll show you an example of it in just a second. But you want to understand like where these files are, because your 2D work, your 3D work, your 4D work are all digital media. So they're all files, right? That you have to store anyways. And we're just organizing them to present them or be able to display them virtually as a page. So the page is kind of like the pedestal for all your work, but the content of the course is different approaches to working with image editing techniques, 3D modeling, environment building, and some video editing things as well. Um, okay. But I think it's really important if you're working on a computer, you should understand um, what is going on and be able to kind of build certain things on your own. All right. So once you have your repository, you'll be working in HTML and CSS, depending on how you approach this, but I would recommend having at the very least those two files generated, which you can quickly generate there, right? So index.html and new file index.html. Oh, sorry, all style.css. Okay, now I'm spending so much time on this because it's the quickest thing to get lost on. Once I've saved things here, Command S, save, okay, they show up in GitHub. That's the main workflow there, okay? I make changes in Atom. I'm currently working within my portfolio, right? You see that path there. And these are the changes that are being registered by GitHub Desktop, okay? In order to commit and push these changes, I describe what I'm doing. So I could be specific. I could say adding files, right? Commit and push. Voila. This is your page. This is your site now. Okay, so if I come back over to Chrome, all right, I'm going to refresh this. Look at that. I now have another repository here. Okay. And if I come into the repository, wow, I have two files that I was able to save. Okay, now this is huge because it means that not only do I have an account, but I also have a working connection between programs on my computer that help me publish things to the web. Okay, so again, all your work is being displayed at the end of the class on this page that's running off of GitHub. So you're coding or you're managing the code to be able to display your work. The coding is not the main purpose of this class. It's something that we're going to wrestle with in order to kind of work in this new media environment. Okay. One final thing, any change that I make here, okay, right? A couple text bits there. If I save that, okay, it's not going to show up here because I haven't committed and pushed. All right. So I'm going to move this over. Now, if I click inside a GitHub desktop, you see that text that's up there? Well, GitHub desktop is telling me that it's ready to commit and push. When I do that, the text is now present here. Okay, so remember, this is a kind of drive, all right? And this is how you edit, write, generate your files and the code. And this is how you publish. Okay, so Adam writes the code. GitHub desktop prepares it to publish, and once it's published, it's visible on GitHub desktop. Okay. Oh, sorry, on GitHub, the actual website. All right. Now, the final thing here, and this is what is the most confusing, and the fact that I'm doing this step by step for you makes it super simple. Okay. You go inside of your repository, over to settings, pages. Okay. Hold on. So you have to start by changing the visibility from private to public, which means that everybody can have access to it. Okay. So now that it's public, right? I can deploy from a branch. Which branch? The main branch. Save that. And I have a site now. Okay. In about 1 minute time, 1 minute, 2 minutes real time, I'll have a link. You'll see it pop up right here. Okay. I'll refresh until it does. There we go. Yay. Okay. So you now have access to a shareable link, right? If you go there, you won't see anything except that text. Okay. All right. So, main tasks: download the programs you need to develop your portfolio. Okay. Create the file structure somewhere on your computer. Make a folder, 10C, make another folder, project one, and leave these blank. Okay. So I'll pull up my Finder in 10C, right? New folder, project one, project two, project three, right? And portfolio. Okay. Also, make sure you're able to track down the location of your repository. Remember, I can find it in my terminal. Okay. In the programs, I can locate it in order to access it. And in my Finder or File Explorer, I should be able to find it as well. So we know it's under Documents, we know it's in GitHub. Here's the name of the repository, and here is my code. Okay. So that makes my life really easy. If I ever have any questions, I can refer back to that file path. All right. Okay. Now, this first assignment that you're being asked to approach, I want you to spend, let me actually pull up this other one, sorry. spend some time really thinking about what your reference material is going to be. Okay. You're working from your own original images. If you have a phone, you have a camera. Okay. If you want to use any other type of device, like a scanner or a digital camera to generate your images, you're more than welcome to, but they need to be your images. All right. So the goal here is to work in the various programs, right, at different stages, um, and redefine an existing graphic. Okay. So how does a graphic differ from, let's say, just material where, well, there's some intentional design behind it? All right. I'll pull up an example here to show you. Okay. So, for example, this person had a bunch of trading cards that they scanned, and they took various elements from each trading card in order to play around with a couple different approaches to collaging them together. And the one they ended up choosing as their final submission uh, was this final image down here. Okay. Quirky. They're spending time developing their idea in text first, and then following through, gathering the reference material. Okay. So how you generate the images is up to you, but it should be of an existing object or space that has some graphic elements that you're repurposing. Okay. Think about text or different types of images that you want to work with. Uh, and you're combining them to make something new out of them. The main criteria here is you should have at least 5, a bare minimum of 5 that are working together. And we're thinking about different iterations as well. So once you get to a certain point, you might want to just save that, make a copy, and then pursue a different direction. Okay. All right. So I'll run you through something immediately. Okay. Let me. All right. I'm using this hopefully as a reference to clarify what potential reference material could be. Okay. So I'm inside of Street View from Google Maps, and I'm on some street that I picked out. Okay, pretty random. I'm taking a look around. There's a number of things that I could potentially pull from, right? So a graphic element could be something like this text, right? How would that differ from this wall? Well, this is an object and it's a texture, right? It's a material. So you can incorporate textures as well, but try to identify different bits of information that you can repurpose. Okay. I think this is ridiculous, so I'm going to grab it real quick. not this. I'm going to grab this just because, but all right. Command Shift 4 on a Mac is screen capture. On a PC, you'll want to use the snipping tool. Okay. I'm going to use this Smurf stuff right here. Featuring reality. Okay. And maybe this. All right. So I'll go ahead and close a couple programs here. I can hear my computer starting to lose it. And before I go any further, I'm going to open this up. Shouldn't have updated. Okay. Let's see if we can see it here. No. I shared a link to the student site. It's very easy to find, just education or student discount. Okay. So on the Adobe site, I just want to kind of cover what you should be thinking about using for the first project. Okay. Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign. Those three, I would download them and have them on your system. Okay. You can download them on a PC, you can download them on a Mac. A tablet would be difficult. Same goes for a phone. Okay. So that part is pretty straightforward. The more complicated programs to download are Atom simply because they require you to identify what what system you need. You want to make sure you go to the correct folder. Okay. Now I'm going to do something really quickly just to talk about graphics. And we'll circle back to this next week. I'll do a more extended demo inside of Photoshop and InDesign and continue with the development of your portfolio. This week, if you could spend some time thinking about your project, writing your ideas down, and gathering reference material. There's another page that I wanted to show you, or sorry, another submission I want to show you specifically on this assignment. Let me circle back to that first before I. Okay. Here we go. So here's an example of a student who had a very similar assignment where they had to kind of gather the reference material, remix it, repurpose it, and then create something new from it. Okay, here's an example of their proposal. And then here are the references. So they scanned these images, diagrams, pages from a book, and they broke them up and layered them on top of one another. And then the final image can be found on their page. But it's a step-by-step process. This initial transferring of the image from the page into a program that can make use of it in a slightly different way. This is what I'm going to go over right now. So here I am in Illustrator. Okay. And one of the key things that'll be useful for this assignment, let me close it. Oh, now that you see this window open, this is what the cloud looks like. So the only expense that I'm asking you to make for this class is to subscribe to the Adobe Creative Cloud plan. Okay, as a student, I think it's $20 for a month, so it'll be $20 for the entire class. And just make sure you're unsubscribed at the end of the class. And it gives you access to all these programs. It is a subscription plan now. Can't buy the software standalone version of it. Okay. So Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign should be the first three that you download the latest versions of right away. Okay, so if you've never used Illustrator or any of the Adobe Suite before, it's all very similar, made by the same company, right? Here I just want to have a new file. Now, these are things that you really want to consider down the line because you're not submitting anything for print purposes. You just want to keep it at a kind of relatively decent size. And for the demo, I'm just going to do 12 by 12, okay? 300 PPI is the resolution. So I wanted a high resolution to begin with. And this is a good size for me, 12 by 12. Okay, but you don't want to be working with huge files because that'll be difficult to start to put up on your site, okay? So once I create that, it'll make a new file or a new document. Here we go. So this is Illustrator, and I want to bring some stuff in. The way I'm going to do it is by dropping it in. So I open up the Finder window or the application, and I just start dropping it in. Okay. Now, I'll do this with one object. Well, I'll do it with all three of the images, and then we'll see how it makes a single kind of document. Okay. So I dropped in my image. Now that it's here, it's an image. Okay. It's still more pixels than it is vectors. So what I need to do in order to make these into shapes and paths is I need to image trace it. So I'll go in, I'll image trace it, and there's a number of presets that you can use. I want to see this in 3 colors. Let's see what happens there. You can fine tune all of these sliders, all of these options to play around with them and get very different results. I'm just going to go with what I get immediately. Not a lot. I lost a lot of stuff here. So if I went up to more colors, I'd keep more shapes. But for our purposes, we don't really need to make too interesting of an image. So I'm just going to get to that point. So now that I've image traced this, I've made it into shapes that Illustrator likes to work with. Okay. So I'm selecting that and I'm clicking the properties window because the latest version of Illustrator, it gives you a lot of quick actions or suggestions for kind of common commands. So it's pretty useful. So I'm in my document, right? This untitled document. I have this selected, which is the image traced object. And I have my properties window open. If you don't have a properties window, then open it, right? You go up to Windows, click properties, and you open it. All right. And what I want to do is I want to expand it first. After I expand it, I ungroup it. Now that it's ungrouped, it's separate. Okay. So that separation is key for us because that makes these into objects that I can then refine, I can then edit, I can reapproach, I can treat as other things, right? Hold on, I tried to zoom in there. Right, I can add points, I can treat it with different tools in order to reshape it, distort it, whatever, or even change things like the color. All right, but in the simplest terms, right, this is a very basic repurposing of the graphic. Okay, so not a Google search. My example was from a street view, so I'm trying to kind of simulate being in the world. My challenge to everyone in this class is make your own images, create your own original reference imagery repository, right? That's a key word today. To be able to kind of build this project and work within these programs. Okay, so I would, at the very least, I would start by writing out your ideas, the potential steps that you'll take here, or references. Okay, I'll put up some examples. That you can look at on Canvas. And then I'll also ask you to share your progress with each other so that everyone that's tackling this can, feel a little less alone on that front. Any immediate questions about anything I've covered or specifically the assignment, which I know can seem a bit vague right now, but once you make a plan and start gathering your reference images and thinking about how you can repurpose those graphics in order to make some new output, right? Um, uh, Getting to the making of the reference images, I think, is the biggest obstacle. Everything else kind of falls into place to get through the assignment.
I have a question, Professor.
Yes.
So, about the assignment, I understand what the assignment is all about, and then I was just wanted to ask you, can I like scan the photographs of like, let me see, like game cards or either you can say like Pokemon cards. Does that even like count for like being used for this project?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
You wouldn't be the first person to scan Pokemon cards and do something with them. I'm trying to find, maybe I can find it quickly. Uh, yes, absolutely. So if you do have
Okay.
access to a scanner or want to use like some scanning feature on your phone instead of just photographing it, please do
Yeah.
that. And one thing I would recommend is that when you're scanning, make sure you're using a higher resolution on your scanner. So you want to start with the highest resolution and then go lower instead of trying to increase it.
Okay. Got it. And then and once we've like finished the project, how do you want us to like submit the project? It has to be like a PDF format, like on slides, right?
Yes. So your submission, I think I closed the other. Oh no, let me go back. Your submission for the project should be slides. I'm going to show you how to lay them out in InDesign, but you can use Google Slides within the Google account that's associated with your student email, right?
Okay.
This is an example
Yeah.
of the submission. So she included a lot of reference images, her
Yeah.
drafts, and her final image. And there's nothing extraordinary about this. So that part isn't as important as like going through the steps of writing out your ideas,
Okay.
generating the reference material. And the limit is 5, or the lower limit is 5, but there shouldn't be too many slides. I think I capped it at 20
No more
slides.
than 20. Yes.
Yeah, so it shouldn't necessarily get that much.
Okay.
Yeah. Next week I'll talk about how to get the image onto your page. Okay, so that'll be kind of a second part of the submission. I think it's also it should be included there as well. Yeah, submission must be included in GitHub page.
Right. Yeah.
So,
That.
and again, you can think about different ways of displaying. Sorry, I keep clicking this expanded view. Displaying that image. Okay. Uh, like there's a student here whose work I showed earlier. She made a render in Blender. Blender is a 3D modeling program. Okay. Ooh, where is she? Close. Oh, and then this is also a useful reference here. Okay, this is for another project. I'll go to it right here.
Okay.
PDF. Open the PDF. There you go. All right. So, right, this is maybe a more elaborate way of going about it. And he actually used a lot of AI to kind of generate this. So if you feel like this is intimidating, don't worry, it's not like completely original.
Right.
But the purpose here is to be able to kind of like work with the AI in order to make a more refined thing. Um, so there is some like use for it. Um, to simplify certain things that may feel like, you know, difficult.
Right.
Okay. But yeah, so the submission that you should be thinking about immediately is making your slides, but that part should come a little later. Okay. Like
Okay. Okay.
it's a task that you need to get a hold of, but you want to start thinking, what are you doing and what are your reference images?
Okay. Got it. Right. Thank you, Professor.
Yeah. So this is her 2D submission, and then here it is again represented in 3-dimensional space as kind of like this floating image. Any other questions about the assignment? Or about anything in general? Okay, so went a little over here. I don't want to take up more time just to keep the video relatively adjustable. But if you have any questions, concerns, I promise you there's a solution in the struggle. So trying to just look up some documentation to walk you through it, try that. Because I can give you a step-by-step like answer, but I think it's really important to take on the challenge of learning a new tool and spending a little bit of time doing some research and just looking at the manuals. Okay. Like if you want to learn more about command prompt, do a search on for Apple, right? So terminal commands, Mac, right? And then just go to the support page and see what their documentation is. That I think is the best approach. Same goes with GitHub, with Atom. Okay. Keep pressing this. All right. So download the programs, make your file structure, make sure that you're trying to keep everything organized. All right. So if you generate a text file, save it in that folder. All your references, keep them in that same folder, your drafts. All right. Yeah, if no one has any further questions,
I did, Professor.
what's up?
So I know there's like two upcoming assignments. The one is the project one, Uncanny Valley. The other one's software requirements. But I already download all the requirements software. So I don't know how you want that to like. Should we send like a comment that we already downloaded?
Yeah, I'll send out a form that will basically ask, what system you're on and if you have the programs.
Okay. Got it. Thank you.
All right. So that's it for today. Thank you for showing up, and I'm an email away. All right. Take care, everyone.
Thank you, Professor.